So what is the core philosophy behind WinterPromise LA? Just like our theme programs, we try to translate the benefits of our theme programs into our LA. And that means that we do that in multiple ways with multiple learning styles, such as hands-on, interactive workbooks that get kids really excited about, those topics, which is hard to believe, but with our fun storylines that we incorporate with our LA, which vary from year to year to really get kids excited because they're not doing the same thing over and over again. They have a different storyline, which really helps teach the material. We also use games and then oral, which can be anything like memorization or just getting kids dialoguing back and forth about what they're reading. We really try at WinterPromise to make something like language arts really come alive to kids and get them excited about learning. So, what makes WinterPromise language arts unique? Our language arts is unique in the fact that, like we've mentioned before, the storylines in our language arts that help teach the different concepts. That is a very unique aspect. And we do that in varying formats. That can be anything from like our early readers, our early language arts, where they are going to be learning to read and identify and decode letters and sounds through the fun adventures of the Pine Nut characters. And then, of course, the interactive notebooks are all together, so you as a parent don't even have to blink twice. It's all right there for you. Our 3rd through 6th grade does it, again, with workbooks, but we also incorporate the fact that our readers and writing suggestions that are included in there for you also match varying historical themes. So if you're learning or studying American history, in your language arts, you will also be learning about Benjamin Franklin, or you might write a paper on one of his inventions that really unifies your language arts with history, and that can be done whether you use our language arts on their own or along with our history as well. So those are two major things that really make us unique, but this is just some great basic ways that WinterPromise is unique. How does the benefits of WinterPromise translate practically into the home? Well, it does in multiple ways. We use our interactive workbooks to create a lot of ease for the parent. That means that how that's done is our workbooks actually will teach the concepts themselves. So that means they will introduce the topic with a little bit of oversight and kind of encouragement. The students are learning the concepts themselves with the workbooks. And of course, we provide answer keys and even like reference material for the parent in the teacher's guide, so that you as a parent will, if they wonder what is a predicate nominative, you as a parent can look it up and they can know what it is, and you're prepared. So that's one of the ways. Our interactive notebooks also make it so if you have multiple students, you can be schooling multiple students and working with multiple students at one time. So while one student is just learned something in their workbook, they can continue on in their workbook, and you can work with another student on something else. Maybe they're learning reading and they need a little bit more oversight and help. So that's one way that it works practically, the workbook aspect. Another thing is we do a lot of the preparatory work for you. We understand that you as a parent, you don't have time to be reading 10 or 20 or 30 books that your kids are reading for school to be sure that, hey, they're actually understanding what they're reading. They're not just speeding through and they're getting the chapters done, but they can't tell you a thing about it later. We provide reading questions for you so that after each chapter that they've read, there's questions with the answers actually all laid out for you. So you as a parent know that your student is grasping what they're reading. This is beneficial because this provides an opportunity that students get to tell back to you what they're reading. And that's really helpful so that as they're reading, they know what is really vital and important to communicate in a story. And that then makes it prepares them for then high school, where they're reading more difficult and complex literature and or textbooks. And that, of course, translates really well into college. But that helps form those pathways. Another thing is that we provide writing suggestions for you. you know, every week, you know, you're going to need to have your student write a paper on either some sort of historical topic. We provide all that information for you so that, you know, if you're learning about world cultures and you're studying the British Isles, you know, you can write about we provide the suggestions for you to either write about your experience of learning about learning about tea that British drink or anything like that, you know, that we do all that work for you so that you don't have to come up with these ideas on your own. It's all provided in the guide, and that really streamlines everything for you as a parent with either working with multiple students or a lot of just stuff you're dealing with at home. So that's just a couple of the ways that WinterPromise really practically translates in the everyday life of a parent. So we've already talked a little bit about how WinterPromise philosophy translates to our language arts in general. We're going to talk specifically about how it translates to our early language arts. We're talking about second grade and under. That's from our letters to words, syllables to sentences, paragraphs to pages, stories, short chapters, and readers to real books. We're talking about those programs specifically. Again, it's the same basic route. We use hands-on games and fun activities. We have interactive workbooks that are unique compared to anything you see out there. We have oral either memorization or just time that they are able to tell back what they're reading in the story, and of course, like we've talked about a couple of different times, the different theme storylines. What kind of makes our early language arts unique, and the goal is specifically unique to these programs, is that what you're trying to accomplish at that age is reading and a joy for reading and a desire to read. We do that with our theme storyline. And unlike some of our other language arts where the theme will vary from year to year, this one is all unified. This has the same. We do this because when kids are at this age, they want to read the same stories over and over and over again. If they could, they'd choose their favorite character, have a billion different stories that they could read about and enjoy. We tap into that. We do that with our woodland critters such as Acorn, Dash, and Scoot, and even some others, like we have a porcupine named Bristle. All these fun characters, we have them go on adventures and explore different things to get kids excited about reading. Now, how this translates practically, and what you as a parent really want to know is like, yeah, it's great to know that they're reading these stories and they're reading, but how does that really actually get kids to become good spellers, have grasp more vocabulary words, and also get them reading longer books? We do this in multiple ways. We use the vertical phonics method to teach reading, and we build from there to then get kids learning different phonograms. So each week they have a different phonogram focus. So if their phonogram is OA, their spelling words, vocabulary words, and their story will incorporate a bunch of those OA words, so that they are constantly being forced to decode and understand words with the phonogram OA. That really just builds into all that really easily. So they are quickly decoding because they're all OA words, not all of them, but a lot of them are. They're also, because they're learning to know how to spell OA words and also understanding the meaning of different OA words, such as boat or float, they are building a bank of words that they will start to just identify easier and faster and more rapidly. And this then makes it easy for you as a parent when it comes to, as they're starting to read like short chapter books, like in our stories short chapters, we have reading comprehension, like activities and games that actually ask them, okay, what happened first? What happened second? And that, that really gets kids thinking about the story as a whole, not just, well, this one event happened to this one character, but how did that happen in relation to the whole story? So all of this fun adventures and these stories get kids doing all this stuff without knowing that they're learning so much. they'll have a bank of vocabulary words that they'll just know. And by the time they're in second grade, they're reading short chapter books, and it's not difficult because all the stories in here will incorporate words that they can decode where they're at with what they've already learned. It doesn't incorporate words that they will not be able to decode and thus feel defeated. None of the words they'll encounter will be like, you may have see that there are some books for like, I can read it, are about whales. We've seen that they actually incorporate the scientific name for a specific type of whale, and there's no way a child of first or second grade would be able to decode that word. Those type of things will not happen in our early reading language arts. You may be asking, like, well, what makes these stories so exciting? Well, they tap into what is so wonderful and exciting, and the things that happens to kids every day that delight and excite them. Anything like, just going and getting into either trouble or discovering something new with their best friend, or learning that they can conquer their fears, or trying to learn what it means to like apologize to someone who maybe it may not be what you want to do. But all the things that kids encounter, the adventures, the things they wish they could do sometimes, such as going and explore on a long expedition in the woods and finding a wolf pack, it's like things that the innocence of that and those adventures are just in the stories, and lovable characters that get you excited, such as Acorn, who is the hero in so many stories. He either gets a lot of these critters to go off and discover something new, or write in some of them he writes newspaper stories about some of the critters, like what they did in the past, or one of them is a doctor who writes about his family, and this is all very real to kids. They want to learn about and get close to characters that are like themselves, that have like fears, and they conquer fears in these stories. One of the critters helps teach some raccoons that stealing isn't such a good idea, and helps them to see that, it's so much better to share. And she's one of the most fearful of all the critters, but brings up enough bravery within herself to help these other animals. These are the things that get kids excited. This is the stuff that really kids want to like read about. And also the fact is that when they read a couple of pages or a page, there's a cliffhanger at the end, so they don't always know what's going to happen. They read a chapter and there's things that they haven't found out. Will they escape from being trapped in this cave? Or will this character come back from leaving some of their friends? I mean, there's a cliffhanger to get them wanting to read to the next day. And what me as an author, it just was fun to be able to just have to relive some of my own childhood memories through writing these stories. And also just think about some of the people, that inspired some of these characters. But probably what was most enjoyable was just knowing that if I'm smiling about it, I hope and pray that my enjoyment of it communicates to kids. And it's a joy for me as the author to hear from parents, just how excited they are, and sometimes sad when they can't read any more stories because there's no more. But it's a joy for me to find that, but I'm just glad that kids are learning to read and are getting the joy that I have for writing, and they're translating that into a joy for reading. So for me, it's just exciting to know that a bunch of kids are learning a joy for reading that maybe they didn't have before. So that's just a lot of things that make us unique. That's what I, as an author, got from writing the curriculum, and just some of my favorite characters,